pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Lori. Watkins.
Present.
Earl.
Present.
McCon.
Here.
Reinhardt.
Here.
Johannes.
Here. Public comments.
So I'm the only public here, but anyway, so my name is Karen Bowden. I used to be Karen Kehoe. And I have a very large portion of my family down to the Bronson Cemetery. And this summer I had a problem. Laura and actually Joe took care of it for me. I placed 12 wooden crosses on every grave down there. And I've been doing it for a few years. I did it so that your guy wouldn't have to mow around. One of the family members used to just stick one flower in each one. And I'm like, so I talked her out of doing that, and I was gonna make these, and it worked out great. Well, they all got run over but one this year, but Laura and Joe took care of it. He came down and looked at it, along with 12 flags were chopped up too. I'm not sure how it all worked out, but anyway. So, thank you, they were wonderful. Then this fall I put on fall flowers on my mom and dad and my brother's grave. My brother's been there since 1983, so I saw the post that there was gonna be a fall cleanup. I didn't realize you take it out of the urns and off the stones. And I contacted the office again, and they were very good with me. They said it's a bylaw. And I'm just here to ask if that really has to be a law or a bylaw. I get, when I read that it was fall cleanup, I'm thinking leaves, branches, stuff like that. I had just taken fresh fall, pretty colors and put them on just my mom and dad's grave and my brother's grave. They were in the urns and they're gone. And they're just thrown away. And it wasn't, they were pretty. They're not faded. They weren't an eyesore. They weren't in the way of any weed eating or anything that needed to be going on. And maybe this is something that's gone on for years. I mean, honestly, I'll be honest with you, when I went down in the spring many times, I'm like, oh, it must be my things have blown away. Well, now I realize that they're probably thrown away. And I'm not blaming anybody other than maybe a rule or a law that we've had for years, and maybe we could think about it. I don't understand why you would have to take things off the stones of what my family has purchased, and I don't understand that.
Now, I know, Brandon, you and I spoke on this a few weeks ago. You had given me what our ordinance is now and then what Sturgis is doing. I know this was revisited back, I think 2017, 16 and 17 when we looked at that. I think it's something to obviously look at and see, if it's organic, I understand the need for possibly getting rid of that, but if it's non-organic, plastic, whatever, I think it's something,
The only thing I can say in the past, hers is done tactfully. There's people that, there's blow all over the place during winter. I wonder if this is something for the cemetery board to sit down and discuss and come up with a rule of what would be tactful and secured to where the wind's not gonna blow it around to where it's a nuisance. I can see that.
I've done some investigating myself. I contacted the guy that does the Mendon Cemetery, and he said, Karen, I don't touch anything on the stones. He said, our rule is that's the families, they take care of that. He said if it gets bad, I think the city calls them up and says, it's looking bad, come take care of it. He said, but I don't touch anything. And he said, as far as like running over things, he said, I get close. If my mower doesn't get that close, I go back with the weed eater. I know a woman that lives in Coleman. Her husband's buried, she told me, in the bigger cemetery. I didn't know there were so many cemeteries. She said, never is anything taken off the stones, anything is not taken off. She said, if there's old flowers, like, you know, you planted them in a pot in May, you know, and now it's October and they're dead and everything. She said, yeah, go ahead, they rip them out. She goes, but not anything artificial that, you know, and I guess that's my point. It was they were brand new. I also talked to somebody in Quincy, and, no,
Well,
they
I do
don't
know,
do anything like that either.
I do know, our small cemeteries around, they don't do that.
No.
My wife was out there and they put Christmas in for her dad. And, out here just on, Central Road, you know, they,
I have
I
my
can name
uncle
off
that
different
Batavia
ones.
too, and they don't
And
throw
it's
anything
probably
away
up to
either.
the Sexton a little bit too.
So
I'm on the
is-
cemetery board, ain't Brandon?
Is that up to the cemetery board, or is that for us to?
I think probably me and Joe should sit down and try to make a, it's really tough because some of the stuff out there is old and the families aren't taking care of it and it
They
should
put
be
it in,
thrown
but
away.
never throw it away, is part of the problem.
And
Well,
that-
It's what,
again,
Joe?
I think,
What did you say?
Part of it is people go there and they put stuff in to make it look nice, and then it just like, there's a lot of stuff out there that we did throw away that was just so fake, and it was fraying, and,
Yeah.
you know, it is a new crew that cleaned the cemetery with me, maybe cleaning was clean, you know,
They were yellow and brown, they were all fall colors, and I had just, because Cody Keough said, hey Karen, I saw this post, I'm like, all right, thanks, I went down, I took care of all the flags, I took everything off that I thought was in the way and was gonna be a problem, and I left those in the urns on the
I just
stones.
wish everybody could do like you do,
I know,
but that doesn't.
And
And I want
that's the
you to-
hard part.
well, and that's where, again, I mean, maybe it's in there, and maybe it's just, and I don't want this to sound negative, maybe it's bad judgment on your guys that, what they did. I don't know, I'm not putting.
but if they're
blame on
told
anybody.
nothing, everything goes, you know, I mean,
Right.
you're not
And-
watching, you don't
and I
have the
think-
time to watch them. I don't want to blame anyone, I really just think they're misled somewhere in paper, you know, and as far as the crosses, and Joe went down with me and looked, you know, the one was left on my grandparents' grave, and I put them right up against the stones, so there was no reason why whoever does the
And I
lawn mowed over them, he chopped them all up. I was about in tears, I'm sorry, Lord, I was upset, I
I
was just,
been totally, you know, I know out there, these smaller cemeteries, we got people we do for, and we do take off and put the new on. But I also know where my wife's dad is, this summer, there was still Christmas, where they had like the wrap over the stone, and where you're blowing down, and here it is, we're putting up their late spring, you know, and now that, yeah, pull that, but I think you could be make a judgment about what you're looking at with the time of year that you're doing it.
So,
You gotta
again,
remember
Just
who
try it
got
like
you.
your own family.
so,
I mean, it's a personal, I was crushed when those all were cut down, you know, and then of course the family member went back, she went back to Walmart and stuck all those individually there again, and I was just like, hey, I'm like, oh.
I'd like to discuss, you know.
yeah, and again, I don't wanna make light of this, we do have to kinda move on here. but,
Yep,
um,
yep, I know, and I appreciate the
I
time.
do wanna make sure that one of two things either has to happen. Either we go back to the cemetery board, or we need to bring it back up to council to discuss, or have you guys look at the bylaws that we have and come up with some sort of, something that we can discuss and
Yeah.
hopefully get to a resolution here.
I think we should be able to.
We'll try to better
I think so.
define what
Yeah.
we're taking, what we're not taking, and
Yeah. I
bring
would
that
love
to
to sit down
the
and
cemetery
consult.
board and then bring it back
I
to.
think it's a discussion well worth needed.
I mean, I don't know about
You
even
have
like the families
somebody
being
like Karen that
responsible
does
for it
an
either,
excellent
I
job.
mean,
And then she's one or two of the whole cemetery that does that.
Correct.
And
Correct.
that's what makes it tough.
Yeah, absolutely, understood.
But we understand where you're coming from.
I appreciate it. If I need to go in front of the cemetery board, I don't have a problem with that either, I mean, if you need,
Yeah, just let me know if we wanna do that, I can get in touch.
I'm on the cemetery board.
Okay.
you are.
Well, you've already got a friend on the board.
Well, I would think all of you would be a
I mean,
little
I
bit passionate
understand, I
about
understand your
it.
feelings and I
I
understand
know.
where they're coming from, so.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
we-
and it
we
would
can
have been
make some kind
different
of
if it would have been
resolution.
in the way of like a leaf a leaf catcher or whatever, but they were in the urns on top of the stones, and I was like,
I
those
understand.
aren't in the way, you know, I just didn't get that part of it, so, okay, thank you very
Appreciate you
much.
bringing it to our
Hey,
attention.
well, I appreciate it too,
Thanks,
and
Karen.
just so you know, these guys were wonderful, and isn't that Tricia now?
Yeah,
That's who I talked to before, she was
The
very
last
passionate,
time, yeah.
yes, she was
I was
very
gonna say, I
passionate
didn't hear that last time. but
and
this
understanding
summer,
as
yeah.
well, so I don't have a problem with you guys at all. Thank you.
That's
Have a
what we
good
need to
night.
go.
Take-
Consent agenda, Brandon, do you have anything on that?
Nothing to add other than the items that we have to take off, we'll get to on the next meeting.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, new business, city services to the Brunson Community Foundation. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. For many years now, the city public works employees have assisted with maintenance and marquee changes for the Bronson Theater operated by the Bronson Community Foundation. The city has never received any reimbursement for staff time to perform these tasks. Mayor Watkins requested this be added to the agenda for discussion. The foundation is considering increasing the cost for marquee rental, which has prompted the discussion as to whether or not the city should start charging for these services. To change the marquee, it generally takes staff about an hour, more or less, taken away from other tasks, so.
So, first of all, thanks, Brandon. Larry, as you know, I mean, you were on the Community Foundation Board, serving on that. The Community Foundation has very little funds to them. Okay, there's not much that goes into that. Right now, I think it's $50 for a 3-day rental,
$100 for a week.
100 for a week. They had discussed raising this because, it does have the apartment over there, that they do get that on, but we're talking $400 a month in just, heating bill charges, and that's the, because it's on the budget. There's not a lot of revenue that goes into that, it's not being rented out, you know, that sort of thing. I have no problems whatsoever keeping the city doing that, but if they're gonna raise the rates on it to help them with their revenue stream, I don't know if the city should just, if we wanna continue that as a pro bono service, I really don't have a problem with it, but I thought it was something that we should discuss, because again, I don't know what, you know, the public really knows and doesn't know about the interaction between the city and the community foundation and that sort of thing. And, you know, if anybody looks into it and knows that the city's doing that for free and not charging, I don't know if the city would ever get backlash, anything like that. It's something to discuss whether or not we want to keep doing that service. And you're talking, it's, you know, $50 an hour, I mean, roughly by the time you figure the gentleman's wage plus the benefits and everything else. So if it's taking you an hour, I mean, is it even worth discussing? I don't know. It was something that, you know, it was talked about possibly the city charging the community foundation, and I wanted to discuss it with the council this evening.
I will give you my opinion. I've sat on the foundation for a lot of years.
Yep.
You do now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that they usually once a year solicit donations from a lot of individuals who have, they never keep going.
Right.
And, I mean, we pick up brush every week. We do a lot of things for our citizens that a lot of places don't. I think this is just another one we do.
And
That's my opinion.
Again, I don't have any problems with that. I wanted everybody's opinion on that, so.
Yeah, I think small towns have different ways and different charms to them, and I think that's just one of ours,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
It makes work for Joe.
We could go digital, I'd love that.
There you go.
Start saving them for it.
If somebody spells it wrong.
For that request.
Spell it the way it is on the paper.
I know recently on that, they just, we replaced all the doors and everything else, and that took a big chunk of the funding that they had available to them. The marquee roof needs to be repaired. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in that building over there, so.
It's a constant, it'll be constant battle as long as it's there.
Yeah, no, understood. Okay.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Purchase wastewater treatment plant clarifier parts. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. The city's clarifier tanks at the wastewater treatment plant are in need of new rods. The company that originally made the equipment, Walker Process Equipment, quoted us a price of $8,620, which was more than was included in the packet. They had done the math wrong, so it's actually more than that. Jerry and Joe discussed having these rods reproduced locally by Sutton Machining. To replace the rods in both of the city's clarifier tanks, Sutton's provided an estimate of $3,537 for regular steel and $750 more for stainless steel at $4,287. We believe stainless will give us a better value and longer useful life, as these components are constantly submerged in water. Parts will be replaced first on the north tank, which is currently empty, and then once that's completed, they move on to the south tank and replace those.
Did you think about possibly zinc plate or chrome on those parts versus stainless? I mean, $700, $750, not a big deal when you're talking about what it's gonna do there, but that, you're talking maybe $250 to zinc plate them compared to.
It's an option.
It's something to think about. I mean, we use zinc plating a bunch in place of stainless where I'm at. It just gives it a little bit of that corrosion resistance plus longevity on the part a little bit too. Something to think about. I mean, I'm not opposed to.
Are those parts that are submerged all the time too, though?
The parts that we have are set outside in the elements all the time.
Okay, because
Now, in that quote, the Walker process, or the plant there, I think that's just the rods. That's not turnbuckles and clevises needed to attach those rods to.
And this is everything
Through Sutton, he's making turnbuckles, he's making clevises, he's making rods, doing everything.
And I like the idea that they're local too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I like the idea of staying.
And I think he said he's turning it out.
Wastewater.
Yep,
I mean,
yep,
So there's high chemicals that would eat at it faster than
yep.
normal.
Yeah, if you were gonna go regular steel, you definitely wanna coat it in some way,
Yeah,
shape or
yeah.
form.
I mean, stainless is gonna have a longer life expectancy than me, so.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, I ain't gonna work on it again if we put stainless down there.
It was no stain.
Now, do you have prints for these, or are they gonna reverse engineer and machine those, how?
We basically just used the prints from Walker, the Walker stuff that we had at the plant, took that down to
Okay,
Josh. He did the numbers and everything, gave us that quote.
okay,
He said he's more than welcome to come down and climb down there and measure everything out and, do it that. He said he'd come down and look at it and make it work.
okay, yeah. I think it's pretty much a no-brainer, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So do we have a
I'll make
motion?
a motion that we approve to have Sutton make those parts on the end of the treatment plant
Out of stainless steel?
out of stainless steel.
Do we have support?
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Social district discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. The city was approached by Smitty's Pizza about establishing a social district in downtown. During the height of COVID, the state enacted a law intended to spur economic activity and provide flexibility for hospitality businesses by enabling the on-site sale and off-site consumption of alcoholic beverages in designated social district areas. Businesses that are granted a social district permit may sell alcohol on their licensed premises to customers who may then consume the alcohol in the common areas of the social district. In your packet is a one pager from MML. It had an example application and an example map of different common areas, which would be in red, and then the boundaries, which would be in yellow there. So I did put a map together that showed an example of what we could do in Bronson. It was just a rough sketch.
So I guess I would like a couple, first of all, Chuck, your opinion, have you dealt with this? And what's your thoughts on this on a legal?
Well, it's perfectly legal. Anybody familiar with the Monroe Street project in Coldwater? That's a social district. That's what they started, and look what it's grown into. I mean, that, if you go down on a Thursday during the summer, that place is packed. Okay. It really has helped the businesses. I can tell you that Jim Brocker, who's opening Jim's Pool Place, has doors on Monroe Street, so he can be part of the social district. You got a couple bars there. It is legal. It is a way to expand it. I know Coldwater's actually been talking about expanding theirs to. There've been discussions. I don't want to go into what, but they're trying to do some expansion. It has been a boon to the businesses that are around it. The big thing is, the police probably have to have a fairly high presence the first few weeks, just so people know that they can't get stupid. And I'm sure Steve is excited about that. But once a pattern is established, I can tell you, Bill knows where I live 2.5 blocks from the social district, and when my kids are home, they just walk down there on Thursday nights, and when I have Tibbetts kids there, they walk down there on Thursday nights. It's a big deal, and it really is good for the businesses. So, from a legal point of view, the liability is not a big issue, unless you're ignoring it, but that's why I say you make sure you just have some police presence.
What's your gut, Steve? Just initial reaction to seeing this, hearing about it? What's
Initial reaction is our locations. We've got basically 2 bars. You got Smitty's and Madison Street. Common areas, the parking lot out back. How would they use that? Are you closing down North Street, which is a street that cuts through the parking lot from Buchanan to Madison? Is that going to be closed during a specific time? It's really where you're going to do it and what's going to be allowed. Our area is quite a bit different than Monroe Street. They shut the whole street down, and that works great for them. My question is we have 2 businesses, common areas out back. Are they going to be out in Madison Street, or it just kind of? I saw the map, so I'm familiar with what they're thinking. I don't know how it would really work for us.
I think.
But I'm not against it.
When it was brought up and we discussed it a couple weeks ago, the thought process could be something along the lines, especially in the summertime with your fish fries,
Yes.
right? If you had, because you've got the VFW right there, you have, the Casey's, you've got the Madison Street, you've got Smitty's right there. You've got that little area right there. Not only you're gonna have music in the park as well, to where, looking at the map that you kind of drawn, it was, blocking off 12 essentially, to where, they could walk back and forth, or we allow it over in this area to where you've got a mobile bar essentially for, music in the park and that sort of thing, so.
Question I would have would be, you have the parking lot out behind at KFC and in Smitty's and that. When this is going on, is there going to be parking that's still going to be allowed there, or is that going to be roped off at some point? So there's no parking, because during fish fries, that parking lot is packed.
Right.
And if you close that off, where are they going to park?
Understood.
Yeah, so that's the question I have, is the common area that we really have to work with is a parking lot. How do you manage that?
So I guess.
That's my
It
question.
was brought up to see what council's thoughts were on this, right? So, I mean, again, I want you guys to speak up too. My my belief after hearing what Chuck and what Steve has said is that there's possible benefits from it, and we're open to looking into this, but there's obviously gotta be a lot more work done behind the scenes to figure this out and how we're gonna do this,
I
right?
think,
So, I don't have any problems with that, I guess I'd like to hear your guys' opinion as well.
Well, I'm wondering, behind the library, how much, is that equivalent parking behind the library to what's behind Casey's? To where they could potentially have people park behind the library?
If you want to
As
talk,
far
so
as
you just
this
slide
drives,
in, grab a seat.
That,
You
that's
need it
cool
all.
as well.
Well, yeah, it fills up too at the,
Pretty cool.
I think we got a long way to go on that, but Sturgis, they have a couple of them, don't they? A couple of streets where they're,
They got one, they do a Winter Fest, they've got a couple of them right downtown.
Yeah, where they block
off the streets.
One on the Bourbon Bacon Blues.
north side and the south side both, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I'd like to see what sort of rules were drafted up and maybe do a, one-year trial on it to see how it works.
in my opinion, I just really thought that during Music in the Park, you know, if we closed Madison Street, let them set up stuff there where people could watch there, eat, have a few drinks, would be a good idea.
I think it could work if we just figured, well,
Yeah,
It's just, we gotta have rules,
Yep.
yeah, obviously,
so we just have to know what the rules are.
One thing to keep in mind too is trash. Because in a social district, basically they're going to have solo cups that are imprinted with the business that they bought it from. And what do most people do when they're done with them? There's nowhere to put them. Just gonna chuck them on the ground.
that's what
gotta
we
bring
got
more
Joe
work for these
for.
guys.
So that's something that, make sure there's enough receptacles and stuff. And otherwise, they're just going to be pitched wherever nobody's looking.
You gotta keep in mind that no parking area we're working on as a fire lane two is back there.
Yep.
For all those buildings as well. I don't know, ladder truck, I don't know what's the easiest way in, if it's off Buchanan or off 12, but we gotta keep that in mind too.
It's not something you wanna jump into and say, oh, let's try it. You need to plan it. I can tell you, the one that is in Coldwater was probably in the planning phase for close to a year before they finally implemented it, because they did a lot of stuff they have to do. It's not something you're gonna do quickly. As Steve said, you got a lot of things to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trash, pickup, parking. So if you're interested, the way is to start putting together a committee, figuring out how to do it. See what makes sense.
Bill, you're on board, we're looking forward to this.
Yeah, I told Bill to send it to the planning commission.
Is that something, Miranda brought that to us from Smitty, is that something we reach out to her and have her start doing some research and form a committee on her own essentially to report back to us on? And I mean, if they're looking to do that, she's right there, she can talk to Madison Street, she can talk to whoever in that area and figure out, if we go in on it, because it basically came to us essentially, they wanted to do outdoor seating out on US 12 side of, their entrance to Smitty's. And then it was brought on to kind of spur the discussion with social district. I would throw it back in her court and basically say, look, we're very open to it, very open to discussing this, looking at all of this, but put it back in her, because the district's got to benefit, I would assume, more than just one business. On the Rose Street, you've got 2 or 3 that's.
When you've got a liquor license, you can get a permit for outdoor seating.
Yeah.
But again, give you an example in Coldwater, the Tibbetts has a liquor license. You ever been to the Tibbetts? They've got that roped off area outside the door that goes to the bar inside the main floor. Alcohol has to be consumed within that roped area. They go outside, but they have a permit for outdoor seating. The social district is not roped off. You can go anywhere within the district. So that's the difference. So could they get a permit to have outdoor seating? Absolutely. That's just a permit to the state, but it's different than the social district.
Well, and that's fine, but when they were talking about this, we were talking just logistics of where that would be and how that would work, where they're doing, kind of leading into the social district kind of thing. So I think we throw it back at them, to have them kind of look at that and see what kind of thoughts or ideas that they have in mind behind it. And I'm all for looking into it a little bit more and
Absolutely.
I think it'd be a
It
good
has to
thing.
be looked into.
Absolutely.
I think it can be done if you just take our time and do it right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what we need to do.
Any more discussion on that?
No.
Okay. Police department building, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. I was asked to look into possible financial options for the new police department building. Financing would allow the city to spread the cost over several years with smaller amounts coming from the general fund each year. Financing the purchase and some of the improvements will allow us to get more work done in the current budget, such as the updated roofing estimated at $21,500 roughly. I reached out to a couple of banks with some figures. Century Bank, I did projected $80,000 loan. Total cost for Century Bank over 20 years would be $150,000. Sturgis Bank over 12 years would be $120,000. The annual payment ranging between $7,500 to $10,000 a year. Also reached out to the USDA for financing, and they require that the project be bonded. So that's just gonna add significant costs with legal bond counsel and financial advisor fees. And it would also only be available to building improvements, and it wouldn't cover the cost of the purchase. Yeah, like I said, those numbers are in your packet. If council wants to pursue this, I can get more concrete numbers on a preferred annual payment amount or term of the loan. Also mentioned that the police salvage fund would be able to pay for some of the improvements, needed upgrades, such as installation of the fiber internet connection,
So,
and a few other minor things.
you know, the idea came, I think, from Bill. Do we take a look at, we have the $40,000 for the building. By the time you got your closing costs, plus your phase 1, phase 2, and the roof, you're at roughly $70,000 of our 80 or 78,000, whatever that number was. It doesn't leave you a whole lot for anything else. So it was looked upon, you know, our investments are making between 3 and 4%. So essentially, this is costing us 2%. If you look at it that way, and it also gives us a lot more flexibility to kind of help out and get things moving a little bit more. Otherwise, we're, you know, because of what we talked about and discussed, we're only sticking at a certain number. It doesn't give us a whole lot of flexibility and breathing room when other things need to come on. So this is why it was brought up and kind of brought to us for discussion.
I'll give you my opinion. My opinion was, we wanted to get the police department in a building. I wasn't looking at any more than getting it into the building that they could function out of, knowing that full well, if council down the road wishes to pursue possibly moving the city hall there, that's when we would consider doing a major renovation. I have no problem putting a roof on it now with money that you figured we were gonna allocate to it. The minor things that they were gonna have to do to make it work for now. I don't see any way that I can support going out to take a loan out for this over a 20-year, 15-year, whatever. When in that period of time, we utilize the building for a further purpose, we're gonna spend a fair amount of money then I could see going through and taking a loan out or seeking grants, all that kind of stuff. But for now, I think we can live with what we have with minor, in staying within the budget that you talked about. We can get them functioning under that.
So, my idea, was what I was thinking was, rather than taking the $80,000, $78,000 that we had budgeted for the police officer, using that for just a building and saying, that's what we're doing, that's what we got. Is if we borrowed this money, we leave that other money in the general fund. We already have $50,000 that we put in there for the building fund. And if we do that every year, in 3 years, 4 years, we have $200,000 sitting in that building fund. Rather than having to go out and borrow money, we will have a substantial amount of money in the building fund to work with to do that. If it goes 6 years, you got $300,000, and that was my thought.
My thought is not that far off from yours in a sense, because I'm saying we have 50,000 we already set aside.
Yep.
But I was comfortable with whatever was going to be left of the money that was for the officer.
And it's pretty much, but by the time we paid for the building, the closing costs, phase 1, phase 2, roof repair, drains, there's some bathrooms that need to be upgraded, we're out of money.
Well-
Anything else that comes up, we're out of money and we're going back to the general fund. That's my thoughts.
Well, and my other thing was, then we have to be paying all this interest.
But you're only paying 2.5% in
Well-
reality. If you look against taking it out of the fund, where you're making 4% on your investments. If you leave your investments and you borrow, and you're paying 6.5%, you're only paying 2.5%. It's cheap money.
I still don't like to borrow money.
I'm just looking at it, and part of that is based on what our projected deficit was for the year. If we don't have to take that money out of the fund, or out of the general fund, it just lets it build more.
Well, if you don't use your 50,000 you put in there, that cuts your deficiency down.
And if you don't use the 80,000 for the 78,000, I'm just looking at all the different things in there, in my opinion.
So you're talking $130,000 savings roughly.
On the
cost
general.
of 10 grand.
So when is whatever supposed to start happening with it? Like, are you guys planning to go in there and start doing something?
I've already been in there.
'Cause
Electrical work was done today.
what was
We had
Where
some
we
minor
at?
stuff we had to have done.
currently on the budget for what we had set? Do we have like on paper
That'd be the man that
numbers or?
So roughly, we have 54,200 into it.
That's without the roof.
Okay, yeah, 54,107.14. If you add the roof into it, it's roughly 75,700.
And the 5th officer with benefits and everything else was what cost?
I think it was between 70 and 72,000.
So right there, you're done.
You wouldn't have enough to do the roof.
Right.
Unless you threw out at the last meeting like 85,000. If we stuck with that.
And that's what I thought, that's what I thought I saw was like the 85,000 number, whatever, but that's kind of the reasoning behind looking into those there.
Then you could get more done, I understand that.
I just don't wanna set us up for failure.
Well, believe me, I don't want to either. I just hate saddling councils down the road with that payment every year. too.
But you're talking, that's a $10,000 payment versus a $80,000 payment this year.
Yeah, that's $10,000 a year versus 1 year.
But you're in,
I mean,
you're in a situation.
it's one of these catch-22s at this point, I guess, when I look at it yearly.
Once it gets everything done and you get that money, you know, always knock that loan out. You know, if you needed to, wanted to. That's good, that's low, 2%.
Can always pay off early too if
Absolutely.
if
And we're keeping the business.
finances were.
Saying
We're there.
That loan doesn't always have to go
Like
that
going to one of our banks.
Well, I know
I'm not a financial guy, so I can't tell you.
we gotta do something with the roof, cause there's a cut in that roof in the upper
Right.
section.
Yeah.
It has to get patched at least now, before,
So the roof price that you're talking, that's for a whole new roof?
Yes.
Or- Okay.
It's for them to go around and make repairs to the membrane and then put a sealer on it, which is what they recommended.
Right.
To redo the whole roof was
60
60-some thousand.
Yeah, and I can tell you, we did, that's a TPO roof, and we did the old Kmart building with the same thing where we went in, basically they power wash it, they clean it, they fix all the damage, and then they put this coating over top of it. And it's been 8 years, and it's holding up great, you know. The recommendation is to keep foot traffic off the road as much as possible. You know, there is some out there, because you got air conditioning units and stuff to service, but if you stay off the road, so that's quite a long.
An entirely new roof is 62,000.
Well, I guess if we moved ahead with Brandon investigating exactly what it was gonna cost and what he can come up with for our best deal, we can go from there.
I'm for council, or for giving him the approval to start investigating that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Is there a number of years, yearly payment you're looking for?
I think, me personally, I don't think we wanna go over $10,000 a year, and if we can lock in somewhere close to that around the 10-year range, I think that, I don't think I would wanna go any more than 10 years.
And like I said,
Yeah, I think 10 years would be the maximum. we
because,
want to do.
we've always got that opportunity if we wanna just reset.
Well, and if we get, you know, come years down the road, if, you know, we get to a year to where, we're under budget by quite a bit, it's easy enough to pay that off and, you know.
So this just gives us that leeway.
Gives a little flexibility.
Easement, I want to.
So I think, there obviously doesn't have to be a motion for this, but I think the direction is 10 years, $10,000 a year. I think that's what to look for on that.
Either the yearly premium would probably be a little more than 10,000, because Sturgis Bank did 12 years, and that was 10,000 per year.
I know these are both local, but did we look at PNC? I mean, multi-building permit.
Yeah,
They
through
may
that
not
whole
be happy
process,
to
I
do
never talked to anybody that was in the loan division or anything, but I can reach out to the Coldwater branch.
I guess I look at it, if it's more than $10,000 for 10 year, I hate to go over 10 years on it.
Farmers might too, they're a local bank from Angola, Sturgis and all that.
Yeah,
They might have a
I don't
better
think
deal.
if we can do something local and we're in that 10 years, 10,000 range, I think that's great, but I don't think we wanna handcuff ourselves to just stay local for that, right?
I think
Banks don't
those
stay
people
local
deal
for
with
us.
that, Brandon and the office people.
PNC left.
They
That's
have
how
to
we
show
got
us
it.
what they can do for a 10 year.
Yeah, I think so.
If someone's gonna do us right,
Okay. Will do.
Okay.
I know, I'm not gonna loan you the money. 10 years.
Rental housing fees, resolution 2312-17, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. To provide clarification on fees for late inspections of rental properties in the city, I have amended the resolution in your packet of fees to provide fees for late inspections This would be for situations where a landlord has paid for an inspection but has not scheduled or completed the inspection before the expiration of the certificate of compliance. The first notice would have a fee of $40 per unit, and the second notice would have a fee of $150. Also increased the court cost fees from $30 to $50 an hour. I don't know if that's too low or too high.
So the question I had on this, if under the assumption that I have a rental property and my inspections, my certificate's coming due the middle of January, okay? I call, hey, I need to get rental inspection scheduled. They can't get me in until the 1st of February because they're backed up.
Yeah.
How does that affect them? I mean, as long as I'm proving documentation, hey, I paid for it, I've got it scheduled December 11th, I can't get it until February 1st. How,
Yeah.
do we work with them on that? Is there?
Yeah, I talked with Safe Built about that today. It's, if the landlord's cooperating and working with us, and just, there's some things that come up, we'll work with them for sure.
Okay.
But like the situation we have now, the
Understood.
landlord's not getting any charges, and it's their responsibility, it's their tenant,
Correct.
so there should be fees for that situation.
So by increasing these, which I believe is duly needed, right? The justification or the ability to waiver from that falls on you and the city staff if the landlord is that how if we're doing it, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out, I wanna make sure that,
Safe Built will work with them, and if they have a question for me, like, hey, do you want us to start charging this landlord?
Okay.
They'll come to us.
so it's through Safe Built and you have the final say. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
this shouldn't come up much at all.
Do we have any concerns on this discussion?
No, I think it sounds like the way I see
Do we have a motion to approve resolution 23-12-17?
I'll set a motion to approve resolution 23-12-17.
Do we have support?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the POAM memo of understanding on the 5th officer, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Watkins. With the city wanting to eventually add a 5th officer, I've been working with the local POAM union on a letter of understanding to the current contract regarding the new position. Given uncertainty regarding future funding for this position, I requested an agreement with POAM where the 5th officer would be the first laid off. Under the current agreement, the first laid off are part-timers, temporary employees, and seasonal employees. It would be very difficult to run the department without our crossing guards and our part-time officers who fill in vacancies and open shifts as needed. POAM has agreed to the letter of understanding in your packet, which states the 5th officer will be the first one laid off. This would avoid having to lay off all the seasonal part-time crossing guards before eliminating the 5th officer position. City attorney has reviewed it and staff recommends approval of the agreement. This gives us the flexibility we're looking for.
I think that's great that they work with you.
They've always been very helpful.
Steve, you're well on board with this,
Yeah.
obviously?
Yeah, we're good with that.
Okay. Any more discussion?
No.
Nope. I'll make a motion that we approve we don't have to approve.
Yeah, we have to approve this, don't we? Yeah, we have to
Motion to
approve.
approve the letter of understanding.
Okay,
Yeah.
make a motion to approve the POAM letter of understanding on the 5th officer.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, city staff comments.
By chance, she was not here for the public. Is there a way to allow her to speak for what? Is there a public comment at the end at all?
There's not, but it's up
It's
to
up
the
to the
chair.
She thought the meeting started at 5:30, so that's why she missed the first part. So
Oh, go ahead, just please state your name and.
You're okay. She went in front of me.
Yeah, you're fine.
Employee guard?
Fire people.
What else do you want me to say?
Say what again, I'm sorry.
Employee guard?
Okay, I think, do you have to put that in the record or not?
Yeah.
And you had a public, did you have something for public
No,
comment?
no,
Oh, I thought she did.
no.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to come in to say something or make a statement. I apologize. That's my fault.
That's okay.
I caught her coming in, and I thought maybe she
She went to
missed.
school and I had said, I invited her to come and check out our city council.
Oh,
And she-
I apologize. That was my
She's
fault.
our new fire lady. She's with the fire department.
oh, okay.
And I know that she has no problem talking with all of us, and I'm, what is going on here? Because I thought you had a concern of something
Yeah.
Yeah.
with the city.
No.
That's.
I
I didn't know her, so that's what I thought she was here for.
I invited
She
her
was
to.
an employee here for 2 years, summer.
Oh, okay. She worked for DPW.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw them out and about, but I really never got close enough to really see them. But hi.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Partaking.
Okay.
Thank you for your service on the fire department as a newest member.
City staff comments. Do you have anything?
I've been over at the new building doing a lot of cleaning. We had 2 bids for some minor electrical work done so we could get in. Cheap bid was $450. I went ahead and had it done. They came in today. It was Ludwig Electric. Came in and we had 2 rooms that you couldn't turn the lights off. They were on 24/7, so they came in and put a switch in. So I could turn the light off so you're not paying for lights 24/7. We needed 2 extra outlets added to where our cubicles are going to be. So they added those. And that was it. It was good. B&B Electric, they gave us a bid much, much higher, but I don't think they really wanted it. But Ludwig, very, very reasonable. And I could cover that with salvage money. So right now we're waiting to get some logistics back to get an internet moved over. That's a little bit of a that's probably our biggest hurdle that we got to cross. Police radio issue. We can do an internal antenna, and that saved us a whole bunch of money. So we're good there. We thought it was going to cost us, $1,500, $2,000 to have them put up a new antenna on that. But because our portables work in the building, we can do an internal antenna. It costs us $179.
Oh, man, that's not good.
So we're beating the door on everywhere we can cut pennies. So right now we're still trying to figure out how to get some of those safes and drop box things. Trying to figure out what to do with those. Been over carpet cleaning and moving some stuff around. So things are moving. It's just baby steps until we can get some of those bigger things done.
Oh, yeah.
But things are good.
Glad to hear that.
So what's your name?
We hired Michael Herman. He's got a weekend, about to kill him off on leaves.
Easy to do.
I think he's gonna be a great asset. He's very devoted, takes tasks well. Again, we're caught up on these. Our last run's gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week, and we're putting stuff away, washing and servicing and putting away. Getting ready to take some trees down. Something about this guy's insurance company, when the insurance house, he had limbs over his house, and I warned him, I said, if I trim that tree, it's coming to the ground. It's in our right of way. It's a nuisance tree for us, for the trucks. So, that's pretty much it. The cemetery meeting, is there any way I can be in on that? Come to that meeting?
I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it.
I'd like to come to that, because, most everything in the cemetery, I try to follow by that board down there. I go by the rules on the cemetery, if they have to follow them, I have to enforce them. So,
Absolutely.
that's kind of what it was, I
That-
didn't mean to
I think
throw
it'll
so
be a
much
great thing.
stuff away that they wanted, but it was no.
It makes a shame, you've got the people that won't cooperate with
Which,
people that
well,
want to have something nice.
That rule's been like that for years though, because I know people that wouldn't bury a loved one there because they didn't want that rule, so they buried them out at Pleasant Hill, and it's, it is what it is.
It's very,
We've had
very,
problems with that for years
Yeah.
and years.
You have to have
One
rules though, or
person
it gets
thinks that
chaos.
a beautiful flower is a
Exactly.
faded flower to somebody else.
I mean, you're down there cleaning, and you're dealing with generations way back when, and, it's a very, very touchy subject.
Yeah,
You
absolutely. No, I think it'd be a good thing for you to be a part of that meeting.
I would recommend it.
I'd like to be.
Well, it's sad because you have people like Karen
You're right.
that
Good job.
is meticulous. Then you have most of the others.
Well, you got people down there that's got stepping stones set up with paver bricks and edges and stones, and you got trees growing up in it, and I mean, it's just,
Seen that.
at this point, it's almost like we have to go down there and take the mini excavator and scoop that stuff up and reseed it to grass, because it's just not being maintained. But then when you do it, you light a fire, and it's, you know, then you got people coming in and mad.
It's gotta be set out.
So it's very hard to press the rules and make them follow them if we don't live by them,
Absolutely.
so. But that's it, that's all I have.
City manager comments.
Just let council know Jerry and Adam both passed their recent licensing exams. Adam now has the distribution license. Jerry has now passed both the limited treatment and the distribution exams, is now our C certified operator for water now. And he scored the highest of anybody that took the test on the non-lab portion, and also had maybe tied for first in the lab portion. So big congratulations to them. Rural Water will still be available for questions and guidance on water moving forward. Have not gotten an update on when we'll find out on the administrative consent order request to extend the deadline. The city is gonna need to purchase a new boom truck. The current truck cannot pass inspection due to the box being rusted out and is having trouble shifting gears. Joe's been looking around for some good used trucks. This is something we will probably have to purchase soon. The motor pool is healthy and we'll be able to fund this. So we'll be looking out in the next few weeks to try to find something.
Now, hypothetical, Joe's fortunate enough he finds the right truck. How's he gonna go through to get it paid for so he can get it as soon as possible? Does it have to come to council?
Well, can
council approve
since it
up to
should
a certain dollar amount?
That was
If we
my,
find
that's
one, pull the
exactly,
trigger?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well-
probably what you should do.
What are you thinking ballpark?
It's gonna come down to, so I talked to Jerry. I would really like to find a truck with a jib on it, which is just basically a crane, makes it a crane. Simply for, we're renting a lot of equipment to do work down at the treatment plant, to reach out over the clarifiers, out over the ditch. I found one truck,
I'll stop over.
not real interested in it because of the type of motor that's in it or whatever. It's got some stuff to it that'd be nice to have. This truck, I think, was like in ballpark 45,000. But if we can get the jib on it, we can eliminate lifts, all this stuff. If we can get out over it, pick it up, this one had like a 2,000 pound pickup capacity.
Okay.
I think most of our motors, you know, we're ranging 1,000, 12, 1,400 pounds.
Okay.
If we could do this stuff without rental, that comes back as a money saving that goes into this truck that.
So, the,
my thought was, if we, cause I saw the prices that you had of that, if we look for the truck you want and the lower hours and better condition, if we went up to $100,000, well, I was just throwing a figure out.
Right, I
And
understand.
say, that's the maximum, you can't go over that.
Right.
And now, maybe it's less than that was what you're thinking.
I mean, 100 grand's steep. I think we can do pretty good under 100. I'm trying to keep in mind too, you know, we've got, I don't know how healthy the funds are, but our jetter, you know, that's right behind the boom truck. So I
well,
guess.
and that's where I guess maybe, I mean, I wasn't going that steep. I was thinking the 60 to 65 range. You know, if we gave you the approval to approve that for that, but, I mean.
I was just throwing it.
I know.
You know,
So
Joe
here's
is
my-
I got no pickup truck, 60
I
grand.
bought jump too, so.
Here's another question. Now, say you approve 60,
Okay.
and we can't find what we need or want for 60. Can we come back to it and reevaluate it?
Well, I think as of this time, right now, if council's open to it, we approve up to 60,000 right now.
You can't.
Tonight, 'cause
It's gotta be on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
So you could always have a special meeting, but you gotta have an agenda item for council to approve, and I think to make sure that you don't have a problem with people in the public. You have Brandon recommend how much is in the fund. Joe look at it and say, we think we can get something in this range, and then you vote on it after it's put on the agenda. Just to avoid somebody coming back and saying, that wasn't on the agenda, I would have shown up and complained about it, because you got people in this community, somebody who will do that, given
Okay.
the opportunity.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to,
While we're here together.
well, yeah, I mean,
Well, that's why I brought it up, so we could have
well,
that discussion.
yeah, and that's a
Not
good
gonna work.
discussion. I'm thinking, without it being emotion, I think, can we throw out a dollar figure to where it gives him something to look for, and if we find something, we schedule a special meeting for that one
You could
particular
certainly
item?
say, we're looking in this range without any specific, any approval, and then that gives him something, it gives him, Brandon and Joe a range to look for.
I would say the range is between 60 and 70, and if we find something, we
Like
schedule a
60.
special meeting to get that approved right away.
Otherwise, you can just have it on the agenda for the January.
And, yeah,
Yep.
well, I mean, but again, I'm with Larry, that if we find something and we don't wanna miss out, I think we've gotta have something, some reactionary,
Yeah.
something quick on this, so,
Absolutely.
yeah, good
I
thinking,
agree.
very, very good. Yep.
That's all I have.
All right, council comments, Rick?
Yeah, hey, you know what, I wanna thank the council, Brandon and Chuck. We've been through a lot this year, 2023, and every time I left the meeting, I felt comfortable with your suggestions and your guidance. And I really wanna thank you for all that. Cause there's times we've been sitting here and we went through a lot, and sometimes we'd be like, oh, but you pulled us through. Joe, good luck finding your truck, and you guys,
Truck, a forklift, a cheddar.
oh man, you guys are doing it, it's gonna be a whole new year coming up. Steve, congratulations, this is so exciting. I'm really-
Yeah, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but it's
We're looking,
it's exciting. It's
2024 is really looking,
yeah, it's
looking ahead.
this is going to be good, I think, for everybody.
Yeah,
Really good.
absolutely, and I just like to wish everybody happy holidays, and be safe, you know, throughout the season. I guess that's it.
Larry?
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all. It's a time when staff is scrambling hard to get the last of the stuff done for the year. You guys are doing great. Everybody. Just to let you know, the new fire station is moving along quite well. Our new truck is going to be delivered next month early. The first date that Scott gave me today was we were gonna go out and pick it up on the 5th. 3 or 4 hours later, it might be the 15th. So, it's really moving, everything's moving along there really good with both the station, the new truck, fire department's doing great.
Where you pick your truck up at?
Where? In South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Sioux Falls. To the wastewater boys, Adam and Jerry, congratulations on, passing the license, and it did not surprise me when Jerry was right at the top, because when Fire 1, Fire 2, and he was taking it, the main instructor was really worried about him because Jerry doesn't talk. And he scored the highest of everybody in the county, so that did not surprise me. The office staff, you guys have had a pretty wild week last week. COVID coming through. Who'd have thought you'd had to close the office for that period of time? My heart goes out to you guys for having the COVID problems again. So, and Steve, it is so exciting to see things moving in the direction to get into the station. I know it's gonna take time.
Yep.
But that is going to be such a major improvement for your department.
I think the location's gonna help us out a bunch too. There's,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many times people can't find our station. You know, you tell them where it's at, but just kind of being tucked in the corner. There's a sign on the building, but for some reason they miss it. And I think being out on US 12 and having a nice sign out there, I think that's gonna help. I think brings us more out in the forefront. I think people will feel they have better access to us because it's easy to find. Let alone having the room, which we desperately need.
So, like you say, to me, that's really exciting that things are moving along the way they
Yep.
are. But it's in the whole city, really. Everybody's moving, each department's moving as fast as they can. So, kudos to everybody. That's everything.
That's right, man.
They pretty much said everything that I would have said that I can think of right now, so let's just keep moving.
Just thanks, everybody. I know it's been a lot. I really appreciate council. I like the fact that we can sit here and have a conversation, you know, and make decisions. Thank you for coming. I love having community input. We're 5 trying to make decisions for 2,400. You know, and so input is always a wonderful thing. And Steve, you know, keep going. It's gonna be huge.
Yep.
Being right there.
And we appreciate the support. We really do.
So, Chuck, thanks. Everybody have a great Christmas. Happy New Year's. See you in January.
There's not much more I can say. to that. You know, I kind of draw the short stick here when I get to talk, but that's okay. Again, I appreciate, you know, you coming up with the idea on the financing of that. Just, you know, we've got a vast difference up here as far as,
Backgrounds, knowledge.
background,
Perspective?
knowledge, yeah. And, you know, each of us is looking at things in a different way, and, you know, it's a way that maybe I wouldn't think of, or you wouldn't think of, and that sort of thing. So it makes us, I think, valuable to one another in council here. So again, thank you to everybody up here. Thanks to everybody, you know, within the community that does what they do. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, are aware of, a lot of good things. So still have a lot of challenges ahead of us starting next year, but I think we're in a good place.
We're moving. We're moving.
With that, do we have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll say motion to go to closed session.
I'll support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.